Hello, my dear friends, and welcome to another episode of Europa Rediviva. I was asked in a previous video by a commentator if I support the union between Romania and Moldova. And I wanted to give a video answer because there's a lot to unpack there. Theoretically, I do. So, as a Romanian citizen, I consider that Romania should be as big as possible, that Romania should incorporate the territories inhabited by all the Romanians. And if we define Romanians as being the Romance language speakers of Eastern Europe, then sure, it is in my national interest to have all of them united in one country and to have this country as big as possible. But now come the details. In the current circumstances, what is offered to Romania is not to integrate with Moldova. Romania is in dissolution. Romania is being dissolved. Romania no longer functions for its own interest and for the interest of its citizens. Romania has become a vehicle for foreign interests. And a part of this instrumentalization of Romania is to have it joined together with Ukraine so as to provide the necessary manpower for Ukraine in its war against Russia. The union with Moldova definitely did not come as an opportunity because Romania developed its statehood to such a level that it can integrate neighboring countries. Now, Romania and Moldova have the same patrons, are run by the same clique of foreign agents, beholden to the same interests. And this union is somehow under the auspices of the Odessa Triangle. So I'm not sure how it will be proposed, how it will be set up, but it's not just a natural union of the Romanian-speaking people on both sides of the Prut River. As you can also see from Șoșoaca's failed bid in the Romanian parliament. Well, it passed one chamber, but it will for sure be overruled in the other. It will be dismissed in the other chamber. And Maia Sandu, the president of Moldova, already took a harsh stance against this legal initiative, because she wants the union with Romania, but under the different auspices, under French auspices, under American auspices, not under Romanian auspices, done by a Romanian agent, an agent of the Romanian interest. So there is something about this planned union. It's not going to be something as it was in 1918 that Romania just gains this extra territory. There will be something that will also involve Ukraine, that will somehow involve the fight against Transnistria and then a fight against Russia. Of course, I don't know the details because I'm not one of the conspirators, so they do not let me in on their plans, but this is what the union with Moldova now entails. These are the auspices under which it is now done. Would I vote for it as a Romanian citizen? Yeah, but not having high hopes. Not having high hopes for several reasons. One is this, the fact that Romania no longer belongs to itself. Romania is a basket case. It is a country in dissolution. It is no longer democratic. And whatever projects Romania embarks on, it is not Romania that does them. It's the foreign paymasters of Romania that bring Romania into these projects, and the Romanian people just follow along. And well, at the end of the line, they will learn why and what was that all for. But right now, Romania is just a carcass. It's an instrument of these external wishes. And when you see that Romania wants to do something, or Romania embarks upon some project, it's not Romania doing it. Romania does not belong to itself anymore, and it's not Romania deciding anything. I don't know, Macron probably wants to somehow expand eastwards, its biggest proxy in Eastern Europe. I have no idea what this is all about, but it's definitely not for the good of the Romanians. Even if it were something instigated by the Romanian state, and if the Romanian state belonged to itself, I would still be skeptical. I would vote for, but I would be skeptical in its success for a number of reasons. Romanians are not very good at integrating minorities. Of course, from a legal framework point of view, they have co-opted the party of the Hungarian minority into the government. Ever since 1996, it has been in power almost continuously. But I'm talking about something else. I'm talking about how these minorities are seen by the Romanians, and the most important one is the Hungarian minority. It is seen as something foreign, even though this party of the Hungarians has been co-opted in all of these coalition governments. The majority of the Romanians still perceive the Hungarians as some sort of illegal immigrants, as some sort of taint on historical Romanian lands. And it's not exactly like this. I mean, if you go to Transylvania, the cities in Transylvania do not bear marks of Romanian habitation. So I think in 1918, when the union of Romania and Transylvania took place, there were only 5 or 6 small towns in the whole of Transylvania that had a majority Romanian population. Some of them had a majority Romanian Greek Catholic population. So this is still, even though they're Romanian, they are somehow united with the West, united with the Catholic Church. And Romanians were just villagers. They were exploited peasants in Transylvania. And if you go to Transylvanian cities, you'll see there all the architectural landmarks, all the hallmarks of Western civilization, of which Romania was not a part. You will see there in the center of the cities Gothic churches, statues of Hungarian kings like Mátyás Corvinus, who the Romanians subsequently took over as their own, because we just said, okay, why demolish the statue? Let's just take advantage of the fact that he had a Romanian grandfather or a Romanian grandmother and call him Romanian. So the problem is, Transylvania, urban Transylvania, bears the marks of the history of the, almost 1,000 years of Hungarian and Saxon presence and civilization. And, Romanian trademarks started appearing from the 1920s onwards, with some official buildings, some churches in Romanian style. Well, it was called then the national style, Neo-Romanian. But anyway, so the majority of the Romanians do not accept the Hungarians living in Transylvania as something normal, something natural. They see them as some sort of illegal immigrants which are tolerated, and are not aware of this historical legacy that the Hungarians have there. And we, as I said, we were just a peasant culture. And urban Transylvanian civilization is completely Hungarian and Saxon. There's not much you can do about it, unfortunately. So where was I trying to get with this? In the case of Romania's incorporation of Moldova, Romania would incorporate all sorts of national minorities, which it would have a strong disdain against. So instead of appreciating the idea that these form part of the Russian world and that the Russian civilization is a civilization and that they have bonds with space that is very rich culturally and has a lot to offer, and to see them somehow as a feature, not a bug. The previous union with Moldova, the one in 1918, tells us that the Romanian state, even when it functions at its own behest, treats these minorities quite harshly and does not accept their culture. From 1918 until 1940, what was then the province of Basarabia, the present-day Republic of Moldova plus some parts of Ukraine, were under a state of exception. So the people there had no freedom of press, freedom of assembly. they could not form political parties. They could participate in the elections, but only under parties from the rest of Romania. So while in the interwar period, the Hungarian community had a party, the German community had a party, even the Jews had a party. Well, the Jews, I think, had several, but an ethnic party, I mean. The Russians had no ethnic party, the Bulgarians had no ethnic party, the Gagauz had no ethnic party. They were not allowed to establish political parties in that region. And so, yeah, their only chance was to vote for parties from the rest of the Kingdom of Romania. So their rights were curtailed. They were not seen as trustworthy Romanians, and that region was under this state of exception for 20 some years. And I don't think things would be any different now, having this border conflict in Ukraine against the Russian-speaking population. So I'm pretty sure Romania would treat the Russian speakers of Moldova the same way that Ukraine treats the Russian speakers of Ukraine. And that would not be good. So I do not have high hopes for a state that treats its national minorities in this way. And I don't think the Romanian state has the sophistication to acknowledge the rights, the cultural rights of the Russian-speaking minorities, the historical bonds. I don't think Romania has the maturity to accept the non-Romanian-centric history of that place, because that place was torn away from Moldova in 1812, when Moldova was part of the Ottoman Empire, a self-administering part of the Ottoman Empire. And the part that was broken away was quite undeveloped. Only these Hungarian-sounding cities were there from the time of the passing of the Hungarians to the Pannonian Basin, so Orhei, Chișinău. But several big cities of Moldova today were developed under the Tsarist Empire. Bălți, Cagul. And as a consequence of this, a lot of the civilization in Moldova was not brought by the Romanians, it was brought by the Russians. Subsequently, okay, in the interwar period, it belonged to Romania, but there almost a century in the Tsarist Empire, another almost a century in the Soviet Union. There are almost 2 centuries of this region being part of the Russian world. And those people, even the Moldovans, so the ethnic Moldovans, speak Russian to a larger degree than we speak English. They're essentially bilingual. They have an aspiration to speak, so the intellectual elites of Moldova take pride in speaking Russian at a high level. So, because Russian is a language of culture, and it has a lot of subtleties. It is a very rich language. It has a rich history. A lot of literature of world importance was written in Russian, and so on. So the people there have a different identity construct than the Romanians, and I don't think the Romanians are ready to accept that. I don't think the Romanians, from my experience, are ready to accept the Moldovans as being something else than lesser Romanians. So the entire part of the Moldovan identity that is linked with Russia, the Romanians would just disregard. They would just frown upon it, and they would consider those people somehow Russified in a negative sense. They would be considered somehow lesser Romanians for the fact that they speak fluently, they're bilingual, in another language of world importance. It's as if, I don't know, the Romanians of Transylvania in 1918 were an urban population instead of a rural population, and they would be fluent in German, and the Romanian state would receive this large minority, of Romanian ethnics, Romanian citizens, but with strong cultural ties to Austria. It would have been regarded as a problem. It's the same now with Russia. The Romanian state will not appreciate the fact that millions of new citizens, even though they're not Russian speakers or native Russian speakers or part of the Russian world, like the Bulgarians and the Gugos and the Albanians and the Ukrainians and whatever national minorities Moldova has. Even if they were Moldovans, so ethnically Romanian, they would still have this sensibility, they would still have this positive regard towards Russia, and the Romanian state would not treat this well. The Romanian state would not would not see this in any other way but as a security concern. And understandably so, because those people can always be instrumentalized against Romania. They can always be, in case they are disenfranchised by the Romanian state, which I'm sure they would be. It is very easy for Russia to use them against Romania. It would be very easy for them to be a mass of voters, of pro-Russian voters, and so on. So I can see all sorts of security problems down the line. I would say some of them legitimate, in the sense that Moldovan statehood in itself presents a problem to the existence of the unitary Romanian state. And of course, a pro-Russian minority of several million people would also constitute a security problem. I understand this from a statal point of view. The problem is Romania does not have the sophistication to mitigate this, and from how I know the Romanians and from how I know the Romanian history, Romania would fall into the trap of disenfranchising these people, of despising them, treating them bad, and so on, and eventually this would cause a problem that would lead to the disintegration of the Romanian state. So this would be kind of a ticking time bomb incorporated into the Romanian state. Of course, leaving the Moldovan statehood aside is also a ticking time bomb, because an independent Moldova and a separate Moldovan identity, separate from the Romanian identity, which is, in my opinion, a very legitimate cultural construct, can also be instrumentalized by Russia for the purpose of creating this greater Moldova and destroying Romanian statehood. So both ways, the same problem down the line. This Greater Moldova project is a traditional Russian project. It also happened in the USSR with the autonomous Soviet Socialist Republic of Moldova inside the Soviet Socialist Republic of Ukraine, which had its capital at Balta, and which was kind of a Pridnestrovie of the interwar period. And Basarabia after 1940 was united with this statelet, so this formed the seed of the Socialist Republic of Moldova. This was the embryo, and Transnistria functions in the same way with respect to Moldova. Moldova functions in the same way with respect to Romanian Moldova. I can see how Russia can instrumentalize this Greater Moldova project in order to destroy Romanian statehood. And why would Russia destroy Romanian statehood? Well, because Romania, from its inception, from 1856, 1859, but in 1856 was the end of the Crimean War, Romania was this project to keep Russia from advancing towards the southern Slavs, keeping Russia from advancing towards the Balkans, towards Constantinople. And it was a French proxy. Romania started out as a French proxy. And you can see that the geopolitical confrontation of the Crimean War from 1853 to 1856, which led to the creation of the Romanian state, of this French proxy state, to be a plug in the way of Russia's expansion towards the Balkans. this geopolitical tendency from the 1850s is still manifest today. We still have war in Crimea today. We still have France designing this Odessa Triangle framework. We still have the elites of Romania being strongly beholden, among others, to France and so on. So it's not like this was 200 years ago and it went away. No, this was 200 years ago, and it is still manifested today. And Romania is still this country that does not belong to itself. Well, I think the United Romanian Principalities, even though they were a French proxy, belonged to themselves way more than the current Romanian state belongs to itself. Because even though the United Romanian Principalities were a project of French-educated Freemasons from Romania, they still had more allegiance to their state than the current comprador elite that rules Romania has. The current comprador elite doesn't even understand what they're doing, doesn't even understand the dangers of functioning at the behest of a foreign country. Whereas the elites of the 1850s were aware of this and were trying to mitigate those problems. They were trying to play this game of a colony, of a French colony, and to switch allegiances according to who was stronger in Europe. They subsequently did that with Germany after Prussia defeated the French kingdom and established the second German Empire. Then Romanian elites slowly started pivoting towards Germany, started going to study in Germany and in Austria, and bringing back ideas from Germany, Romanticism, conservatism, nationalism, a different breed of nationalism, this ethnic nationalism, whereas the liberals wanted some sort of civic liberalism modeled after the French state. But anyway, so yeah, the current Romanian construction is too weak to embark in such projects and to have them function in their own interest, in the interest of the Romanians. And this is why I'm highly skeptical of such a project. And because until now I've analyzed it from the point of view of a Romanian and from the point of view of the Romanian state, I would also like to say some things from a Moldovan standpoint. I'm not a Moldovan citizen, but I could be. I have this right from birth. Moldova also has this law, like Romania, that if your grandparents ever lived on the territory of Moldova, then you can have Moldovan citizenship. I did not ask for it, but maybe sometime in the future I might. I have no idea. And if I were to look at things from a Moldovan lens, which again, if Moldova had this referendum, I would not be able to vote in it. I'm not a Moldovan citizen, so what I'm saying here is purely theoretical. But as a Moldovan, if I also had Moldovan citizenship, I would not unite with Romania. Because, first of all, Romania, as I said, is in shambles. Second of all, Romania does not have the sophistication to manage what is Moldova. Romania only projects a certain image of being Moldovan equaling being Romanian, and whatever exceeds that, Romania is not interested in, and Romania is not willing to learn about, and so on. So I do understand Moldovan statalists, people who say, you know what, I'm Moldovan, we are the descendants of the Principality of Moldova. A part of our historical country was taken over by the Wallachians, by the Bucharest Vlachs. We are the, Iași Chișinău Vlachs, and we have a different history, and we stem from different people, and we would like to have our own state. Even though we're not Russian, we're Moldovan, but we would still like to have our own state, because we function differently, we have different sensibilities, we have a different culture. I can understand that. I've come to the conclusion, after knowing Moldovans, after traveling to Moldova several times, after reading Moldovan history from a Moldovan standpoint, I think these people also have a point. And if I were to choose as a Moldovan, I would rather have both citizenships, Romanian and Moldovan, because it's always better to be a citizen of more states, because you don't know which of them will get in trouble, you don't know which of them will go crazy, and you might want to move to the other one. It makes perfect sense. Moldova is facing some existential dangers with with the expansion of the Ukraine war. So if I were a dual Moldovan-Romanian citizen, I would not vote for the union, because I would like to have the option to move from a potentially war-torn country to a non-war-torn country. So to have Romania insulated from this problem, for example, or the other way around. If Romania goes absolutely crazy and it is instrumentalized to non-existence by these external forces, and it starts functioning, well, it already functions at the behest of Israel and of the United States and of France and of Ukraine and of all these countries. But if this tendency exacerbates, if things move forward, Romania might just disappear. It might just start being this patchwork of, I don't know, foreign colonies. The Romanians might have the fate of the Palestinians in the future if the current tendency manifests itself in the future. So, yeah, in that case, I would like to have the option of another Romanian state, right? The more Romanian states, the better, because then you have the option to move somewhere where it's not so crazy, where, for example, you can learn the history of Romania, not the history of Israel in school, as is now the tendency in Romania. If you want to learn the history of the Romanians, you have some hard time doing that in Romania, because as I've mentioned in previous episodes, the people who do not have a humanistic class profile in high school, the ones who have a scientific profile, have 1 hour of history per week, and in the 11th and 12th grades, they have to study something else but the history of the Romanian people. In the 11th grade, they have to study the history of the Jewish people, and in 12th grade, they have to study the history of the crimes of communism. So, just blatant CIA propaganda against the national sovereignty regime and against the national development regime that was communism until 1989. It's basically a course against Romanian sovereignty and against sovereigntist tendencies. Both these classes are ideological vaccines for the Romanian population against any type of sovereigntism. It doesn't matter on which type of movement it is based, if it's based on interwar nationalism or post-war nationalism. Both are prohibited, and Romanian pupils study this for history instead of studying their national history. So when Romanians are becoming denationalized in their own country, wouldn't you rather have another Romanian state where you can perhaps study your own history without these interferences and so on? So yeah, if Romania belonged to itself and Romania belonged to its citizens and Romania functioned to the betterment of the lives of the Romanians, then the answer would be easy. Of course, yeah, make Romania greater. But since this is not the case, I'm afraid the answer would rather be the opposite. This is what I wanted to tell you. If you like what I do, like, share, subscribe. And see you next time. Take care.